Welcome to Dark Tales. Before the nightmare begins, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you dare. Leave a comment below telling me where you are listening from tonight and what time it is for you. Now, turn off the lights, lock your doors, and let us dive into tonight's horrifying stories together. Story 1. Baghlit L'Qbour, the Graveyard Mule. The midnight bell of Meknes echoed across the silent stone tombs. Yusuf wrapped his frayed jalaba tightly against the damp nocturnal fog rolling off Bab el-Khamis. He had taken the shortcut through the old cemetery to reach his sick mother's house in time, ignoring the elders' warnings about the graveyard at midnight. The smell of sulfur and damp soil hung heavily in the freezing air, choking his breath with every hurried step. A cold wind swept across the ancient headstones, extinguishing the flickering lantern in Yusuf's trembling grip. Darkness slammed down like an iron vault. From the center of the graveyard came a heavy, rhythmic, metallic dragging sound. Clang, scrape, clang. It was the sound of massive iron chains grinding against cold basalt tile. Through the sulphurous fog emerged Baghlit L'Qbour, the legendary graveyard demon of ancient tale. Its skeletal mule jaws snapped with sickening crunches. Green flames erupted from its hollow eye sockets, illuminating the jagged iron chains wrapped around its towering gray form. Yusuf sprinted blindly down the maze-like cemetery alleys, his heartbeat hammering like a war drum. Behind him, the iron hooves shattered ancient marble tombstones with terrifying speed. The demon screamed, a soul-shredding hybrid bray of dying women and grinding metal that made his ears bleed. He tripped over a dislodged grave marker, crashing hard against cold tiles. The glowing green light washed over his face as Baghlit L'Qbour towered over him. The red-hot chains dropped around Yusuf like a tightening cage, sizzling as they touched his teal jalaba. Remembering the ancient warding ritual, Yusuf reached into his satchel for a pouch of coarse sea salt and rusted iron nails. With trembling fingers, he cast the salt toward the creature's glowing eyes while reciting sacred Quranic protection verses. The demon shrieked as salt hit its ectoplasmic frame. The creature stumbled backward, its burning chains thrashing wildly against the surrounding mausoleum walls. Yusuf scrambled to his feet, his lungs burning. He dashed toward the cemetery gate, the heavy wooden doors coming into sight through the dark fog. Just as his hands touched the cold iron lock of the cemetery gate, a burning chain wrapped around his ankle. Yusuf was violently jerked off his feet, pulled backward along the ground at breakneck speed into the heart of the burial grounds. He slammed face first against an open grave pit. Below him lay an abyss of swirling black flame and bone ash. Baghlit L'Qbour stood over the abyss, ready to pull Yusuf down into eternal curse alongside the damned souls. Driven by pure instinct, Yusuf pulled his silver-hilted dagger from his belt and struck the glowing chain with all his strength. Sacred steel struck demonic iron, unleashing a blinding burst of white holy lightning across the cemetery grounds. The chain snapped. The entity let out a shriek that cracked the sandstone mausoleums surrounding them. Unshackled from its prey, Baghlit L'Qbour collapsed inward, dissolving into a maelstrom of green smoke and shrieking shadows. Yusuf pulled himself away from the brink of the grave pit. Smoke rose from his scorched ankle, but he stood firm, holding his dagger out against the lingering shadows of the night. The graveyard had fallen deathly quiet once more. He unlatched the cemetery gate and stumbled out into the narrow, winding alleys of Meknes. Dawn was beginning to break, casting pale pink light over the ancient clay rooftops. But Yusuf knew the terror of Bab el-Khamis would never leave his mind. Reaching his mother's house, Yusuf locked every heavy cedar bolt behind him. He threw the rusted chains from his mind, praying that no other traveler would cross Bab el-Khamis after dark without knowing the old prayers. Yet, as night fell once more upon Meknes, Yusuf stood at his bedroom window. In the distance, coming from the direction of the graveyard, a faint metallic sound echoed across the rooftops. Clang, scrape, clang. He realized the truth with chilling clarity. Baghlit L'Qbour could never be destroyed permanently. As long as human sin and unblessed graves remained, the mule of the graveyards would wander the night, seeking fresh blood. Yusuf pulled out his leather journal and began frantically writing down every detail of the ritual salt defense and silver edge warding. The world needed to know how to survive if they ever encountered the beast. He placed a salt line across every windowsill and doorway of his house. The silver dagger rested beside his bed, gleaming under the cold moonlight like a vigilant guardian against the incoming shadows. Outside, the rattling iron chains grew louder, circling his house in a predatory loop. The sulfur smell penetrated through the cracks in the window frames, filling the room with the stench of ancient graves. Yusuf stood in the center of the salt circle, his eyes burning with amber light and defiance. He whispered the final protective verse, ready to face whatever horror broke through the darkness of the Meknes night. Story 2. Bou Ghattas, the Sleep Paralysis Shadow. Amina woke suddenly in the middle of the night, a heavy, crushing sensation slamming down onto her chest. She tried to cry out for help, but her voice was completely trapped inside her throat. Her muscles refused to move a single millimeter, completely frozen in her bed in the heart of Fez, Medina. The shadow in the corner of her room began to twist and condense into a terrifying shape. Out of the darkness emerged Bou Ghattas, the ancient sleep demon of nightmares. Its faceless, pitch-black form rose toward the cedar ceiling, twin crimson pinprick eyes locking directly onto her helpless body. The air grew freezing cold as Bou Ghattas glided across the floor without making a sound. The flame of the brass oil lamp sputtered and died, plunging the bedroom into near total darkness. Amina felt the heavy weight press directly onto her ribcage, cutting off her oxygen. Elongated, spidery black fingers reached down and wrapped around Amina's throat. The creature leaned down close, whispering horrific ancient curses directly into her ear in a raspy, multi-layered voice that vibrated inside her teeth. Amina struggled against the invisible paralysis locking her spine. She remembered her grandmother's ancient advice. To break Bou Ghattas' spell, one must move the tip of a single toe or finger to shatter the shadow magic binding the mind. The shadow demon leaned closer, its crimson eyes widening as it sought to feed on her rising fear. Black tendrils of smoke seeping from its void face spilled into Amina's nose and mouth, suffocating her consciousness into dark delirium. With a supreme burst of mental agony, Amina managed to twitch her right index finger against the cotton bedsheet. A sharp electric jolt shot up her arm, cracking the paralysis like shattering glass across her limbs. Amina gasped violently, lunging upward into a sitting position as air rushed back into her lungs. She reached for the silver Hamsa amulet resting on her nightstand and held it up like a radiant holy shield. Bou Ghattas hissed in agony as the silver light burned into its shadow form. The entity retreated into the darkest corner of the rooftop room, its elongated fingers clawing at the whitewashed plaster wall in rage. Amina stood up on trembling legs, reciting Ayat al-Kursi in a clear, unwavering voice. With every sacred word spoken, the light from the silver amulet burned brighter, driving the shadows out of her bedroom. The sleep demon shrieked a final wretched curse before collapsing into a puff of black ash. The ash drifted harmlessly to the cedarwood floor, dissolving into nothingness as the first light of dawn struck the rooftop window. Amina fell to her knees, breathing heavily as warmth returned to her frozen limbs. The nightmare was over for tonight, but she knew that Bou Ghattas lived in the space between waking and dreaming, waiting for the weak. She walked out onto the rooftop terrace, watching the city of Fez wake up below her. The call to prayer rang out from hundreds of minarets, filling the morning air with divine melody that drove away all lingering dark spirits. Amina gathered rosemary, rue, and coarse salt from her terrace garden. She brought them into her bedroom to construct protective herbal sachets to hang over her bedposts, ensuring no demon could cross her sleeping threshold again. She spent the afternoon warning the young women of the Medina about the signs of Bou Ghattas. Never sleep flat on your back, she instructed, and keep silver and salt close to your head when night falls. As sunset approached, painting the sky in deep violet hues, Amina returned to her rooftop room. She checked every window latch and lit her olive oil lamp, casting away every corner shadow. Night fell completely upon Fez. Amina lay down on her side, clutching her silver amulet tightly in her fist. Her mind remained vigilant, ready to fight if the darkness dared to return. Outside her window, a soft, dark shadow fluttered across the rooftop. Bou Ghattas lingered in the night sky, watching her room, knowing that one day she might forget her defenses and fall into deep sleep again. Amina opened her eyes, sensing the entity's presence outside. She did not panic. She sat up calmly, holding her lamp high toward the window pane to show the shadow that light ruled this room. Unable to break her iron willpower, the shadow demon dissolved into the midnight wind, fleeing back into the dark void. Amina smiled softly, knowing that her mind was her own fortress, unbreakable and free. Story 3. Tamza, the Ogress of the Atlas. A violent snow blizzard slammed into the high Atlas mountain pass, blinding Tariq as he searched frantically for shelter. His boots sank deep into icy drifts as howling winds swept through the obsidian ravines. Up ahead, through the swirling blizzard mist, he spotted the mouth of a massive dark cave carved into the rock cliff. Tariq stumbled into the cave, collapsing against the cold stone wall to catch his breath. As his eyes adjusted to the pitch darkness, a foul metallic stench hit his nostrils. He struck a match, illuminating a floor scattered with old bones and shattered remnants of forgotten travelers. A heavy, thunderous footstep echoed outside the cave entrance, shaking dust from the rocky ceiling. Out of the blizzard stepped Tamza, the legendary Berber ogress of the Atlas Mountains. Her hulking frame filled the entire cavern entrance, yellow slit eyes gleaming with predatory hunger. Tamza roared, a deafening sound that reverberated through the obsidian cavern. Her cavernous mouth displayed razor-sharp boar tusks dripping with saliva. She raised a massive clawed hand, her heavy ironed bangles clanking loudly as she lunged toward Tariq. Tariq rolled across the bone-littered floor just as Tamza's claw shattered the rock face where he had been standing. He scrambled behind a massive stalagmite, pulling his iron hunting axe from his leather belt as sweat poured down his face despite the freezing air. The Ogress sniffed the cold mountain air, her yellow eyes scanning the shadows. She possessed incredible night vision and hearing. Tamza taunted him in ancient Berber dialects, her guttural voice echoing off the frozen obsidian stone. Knowing he couldn't overpower her in brute strength, Tariq grabbed a flask of oil from his coat pocket and splashed it onto a heap of dry bone debris near the cavern wall. He struck another match and threw it onto the oil, igniting a blinding firestorm. Tamza reeled back as the intense light overwhelmed her sensitive nocturnal eyes. She thrashed wildly, her massive claws smashing overhead rocks into falling debris. Tariq seized the distraction and charged forward with his axe. The clash of iron echoed through the cavern as Tariq swung his axe, bright sparks flying as steel met steel. Tamza answered with a furious roar and a massive shove that sent him tumbling across the cave floor. Tariq slammed against the frozen rock wall, coughing up blood. His vision blurred as Tamza closed in on him, her yellow boar tusks dripping with hunger. He reached out blindly on the ground, his fingers closing around a sharp obsidian rock shard. As Tamza bent down over him, Tariq drove the obsidian shard upward toward her glowing yellow eyes. The Ogress howled in fury, staggering backward and clutching her face as dark droplets scattered across the ice floor. Tariq grabbed his axe and scrambled toward the cave exit, pushing through the thick blizzard wind. Behind him, Tamza's frantic roars shook the entire mountain peak, causing loose rock and snow to begin sliding down the slopes. The blinding snow hit his face like needles, but Tariq kept running along the narrow mountain ledge. A massive roar echoed behind him as Tamza burst from the cave opening, charging down the snow trail in blinded rage. Tariq reached a rope bridge spanning a massive icy chasm. He sprinted across the swaying wooden planks, feeling the freezing winds try to hurl him into the abyss below. Tamza slammed onto the bridge behind him, her immense weight snapping supporting ropes. As Tariq leaped onto the far cliff edge, he turned back and raised his iron axe. With a single powerful swing, he severed the main anchor ropes holding the wooden bridge to the mountainside. The rope bridge collapsed into the frozen chasm. Tamza shrieked a terrifying curse as she fell into the endless fog, her hulking shadow vanishing into the white abyss below the Atlas peaks. Tariq collapsed onto the snowy rock ledge, exhausted but alive. The howling storm began to clear, revealing distant mountain peaks bathed in icy morning sunlight. He pulled himself up and began the long descent down toward his mountain village. He knew he had survived what many hunters had failed to overcome, proving that human cunning could defeat ancient monsters. That evening, around the village bonfire, Tariq shared the tale of Tamza with the elders and young warriors. He held up the iron bangle he had knocked off her claw, a permanent trophy of his survival. Deep in the high Atlas chasm below, a massive claw reached out from beneath the fallen avalanche snow, gripping the icy rock face. Tamza was not dead. The Ogress of the Atlas would climb again. Thank you for surviving another night with Dark Tales. If these stories chilled your spine, make sure to subscribe so you never miss another nightmare. Keep your lights on, stay safe, and try to sleep well tonight, if you can. Good night.